Democratic candidate for Congress, Josh Hicks, is here. He's running next year, and his goal is to knock off Republican Congressman Andy Barr in central Kentucky. Hicks is a veteran, a former police officer, and an attorney, and he comes from a family of folk singers as well.
Thank you, Bill. Thanks for having me.
First of all, tell us, about yourself. What brought you to this decision to jump into a race for Congress?
Sure, and I appreciate the opportunity to talk about myself a little bit because I'm from Fleming County. I grew up on a farm there in Fleming County. My mom and dad still live on that farm. My sister and her husband live on the other end of it out on T-Run, and grew up the same way a lot of folks in that kind of area grow up, cutting tobacco and stripping it and selling it and working on neighbors' farms and working cows and putting in hay, working with your hands, I went to Fleming County High School. I played football there and was fortunate enough to get to go to Georgetown College and play football there as well over in Scott County, but was probably a little better at football than I was at school, so I didn't make it but a couple of years. I dropped out and had to find something to do, so I went to work for the same construction company my dad worked for. I was an iron worker and a rigger, traveled all over working shutdown jobs. Did that for almost a year, and then decided my family had a strong history of military service. My dad was in the Army, my grandfather's in the Army, and I thought, maybe that would be a good thing for me, get a little direction in my life. So I went to join the military, walked into the Army recruiting station and asked them how tough their physical fitness requirements were, and they told me, well, Josh, they're no big deal. It won't be that bad. So I walked across the hallway and stuck my head in the Marine Corps recruiter's office and asked them, how hard are your physical fitness requirements? And they said, Josh, it'll be the hardest thing you've ever done in your entire life. So just a few weeks later, I was on a bus to Marine Corps boot camp, Parris Island, South Carolina, because I was looking for that challenge. Spent 13 weeks there, did a month of combat training there at Camp Geiger, and then got my permanent duty station at Camp Lejeune, North Carolina. I deployed twice with the 24th Marine Expeditionary Unit. Came back after my deployments and was a platoon sergeant for maintenance platoon there at headquarters and service battalion. Then got my honorable discharge in 2003, and my wife and young daughter and I moved back to Kentucky, and I started looking for a job. So I applied at several police departments. I had a real drive for public service. I started applying at police departments, applied at Flemingsburg, I applied at Maysville, both close right around where we were living, and neither of them were hiring at the time. So I got a job selling cars at Paul Miller Ford for about 6 months. I was fortunate enough that Maysville called me back, hired me as a police officer, sent me over to EKU in Madison County, and I went through the Department of Criminal Justice Training. I thought that was one of the finest police academies in the entire country. Went back to Maysville and started serving as a patrol officer, and then on the emergency response team, and then as a certified training officer, training new police recruits when they were fresh out of the academy.
Then you eventually end up in law school and you're a lawyer. This is a long resume,
yes,
and so
sir.
now it ends that you're a candidate for Congress. How did that happen?
Well, like I said, I'm from Fleming County, and so I started believing that maybe regular folks' problems weren't being addressed, that maybe we weren't electing regular folks to Congress, and that caused there to be the focus to leave sort of what is affecting everyday people in their life. Can they put gas in their truck? Can they pay their rent? Can they afford to go to the doctor when they don't feel well? And when I didn't feel like there was a focus on that, and I felt like that was something I had the drive to do, running for this office and taking on this big challenge just seemed like a logical next step for me.